All right, I know that Pittsburgh was a popular play among many people last night, thinking the Pittsburgh Steelers might have a chance against the Green Bay Packers. But they must have forgot that the Steelers are who they are and play a very predictable brand of football. And that brand of football defensively involves a ton of blitzing. Now, that may have worked earlier on in the season against Justin Fields and Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel and Carson Wentz, quarterbacks that aren't good against the blitz, but that wasn't going to work against Jordan Love. And on Tuesday of last week, 5 days before the game, I mentioned that this could be a massive problem for the Steelers. That's because Jordan Love versus the blitz ranked number 1 in success rate, number 1 in quarterback accuracy, number 2 in EPA per attempt, and number 7 in yards per attempt on the season entering the game. And the Packers make teams pay for blitzing. They rank number 4 in first down rate when you blitz, number 6 in 15-plus yard gains, and number 3 in third down conversion rate versus the blitz. On the season, Jordan Love played just 2 teams who blitz at an above average rate this year. In those games against the Commanders and the Lions, he dominated statistically. 2 of his best games of the entire season and was a perfect 4-0 touchdown to interception ratio. On the season, the Steelers blitzed even more than both of those teams. So think about this logically. What would you do? And then ask yourselves, what did Mike Tomlin do? Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, did they adjust their defensive strategy and reduce the blitzing rate? Of course not. In fact, the Steelers actually blitzed the Packers at the highest rate of any game for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. I mean, you cannot make this up. The highest blitz rate against a team that's the best in the NFL against the blitz. What were the results? When Jordan Love was blitzed, he delivered 12.7 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns to no interceptions, plus 0.82 EPA per attempt, and a 153 passer rating. I mean, these were all like top 3 numbers statistically of any quarterback last week against the blitz. When the Steelers didn't blitz him, only 7.2 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, plus 0.26 EPA per attempt, and a 97 passer rating. All of those statistics significantly worse than when the Steelers did blitz him. But the Steelers blitzed a ton regardless because that's who they are. The Steelers are one of the most predictable teams in the NFL. The Mike Tomlin strategy might work because he faces enough mediocre to bad quarterbacks throughout the season who struggle versus the blitz. And Tomlin lets his opponents lose games rather than Tomlin winning games himself for the Steelers with tactics, with strategy, with ingenuity. And therefore, almost every single time that they step up against a good quarterback, these predictable defensive strategies, which don't adjust or don't adapt to opponent weaknesses, can be exploited. This was something quite concerning heading into this game that I was pretty confident that the Steelers were going to blitz Jordan Love a ton. They go ahead and blitz him a ton, and it loses them the game. Jordan Love throws all 3 of his touchdowns against the blitz, records absurdly great numbers against the blitz. And Mike Tomlin, already one of the most blitz-heavy teams in the NFL, blitzes even more than his season average. 0 sense whatsoever, 0 game plan strategy about what to do versus this particular opponent, instead going crazy with the blitz-heavy rate. And then when you're playing the game and you see that blitzing is not working and that sitting back and not blitzing is having more success, you don't adjust your strategy at all. Make any in-game adjustments to help your defense even more. And this coaching staff is a problem. I do not care that they don't have a losing record. Wait till you see what happens at the end of the season as their schedule gets more difficult. It's going to be a problem for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But beyond that, it doesn't even matter if this ends up being the first losing season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What does matter is the fact that the Steelers cannot play this style of defense against good quarterbacks and good coaches in the postseason and expect to win games, because all of those coaches, I don't care if it's Andy Reid or John Harbaugh or any of these other guys, out-scheme, out-strategize Mike Tomlin's defense with playoff caliber quarterbacks and have success against Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh's offense, they could score 17 points, they could score 23 points, they could score 30 points. It ends up not mattering when the defense ends up giving up the point totals that they do in the playoffs because Mike Tomlin does not have any forward-thinking strategies about how to play his defense and scheme things up differently for each opponent that they go up against in a way that's going to minimize that other team's offensive success. I'm sorry, Steelers fans. It's frustrating, but it is consistent and it is predictable, and it's unlikely to change anytime soon.